Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Disney Dining Show. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends, Denny Sunderly.
Hi there.
Steve Porter.
Hello.
And back in the production nook on the controls, Corey Fiasco.
Hey, guys.
And this week, we are going to talk about the 5 worst restaurants at Walt Disney World. We've each come up with a list, and we're going to share what's on our list. I think the way we'll do this is we'll just go through all 5 of them, explain why briefly.
Okay.
Why. So why don't you start us off, Steve? What are the 5 worst restaurants at Walt Disney World, in your opinion?
Okay, so I'll start at 5, and then I have at 5 Cosmic Rays. It's a quick service location in Tomorrowland. If you know anything about me, I talk about how great Tomorrowland is because I work there and I'm nostalgic for it. One exception being Cosmic Rays, which is a trash location. It's garbage and disgusting. It's a lot of quick service, typical burgers and chicken sandwiches and all that kind of stuff. But it's just the classic Disney burger that has no flavor to it and multiplied by, mass amounts of food. The only decent thing about this place is maybe the Sunny Eclipse is in there. People like Sunny Eclipse. I think that they need to take Sunny Eclipse out, redo the entire thing, including the menu, put Sunny Eclipse back in and make it a new location, call it something different just to get rid of the bad memories that everyone has of this place. And then then we'll be good. So that was my number 5. Number 4, Hollywood and Vine. I think, once in a blue moon, you can maybe get hot items that are okay. But for the most part, this food is mostly disgusting. And you've preached this a million times. Why can't there be a location that has good entertainment for kids and good food? And Hollywood and Vine is the worst offender of this.
And when you consider that Hollywood and Vine, that character meal costs almost as much as going to see Hoop-Dee-Doo.
Insane.
Right?
Good point.
Absolutely insane. This one is a little bit more obscure because if you're not a big water parks person, you may have never been here, but Leaning Palms at Typhoon Lagoon is their quick service location. Quick service food at any water park is typically not the best. And Leaning Palms is no exception. It's not very good at all. It's, again, kind of along the same lines as Cosmic Rays of just typical theme park food, but it almost seems worse. I think even maybe the Cosmic Rays food, which is saying a lot because, yeah, it's not good. Keeping in the same theme, bad quick service, basic food, Electric Umbrella. Although it's gotten maybe slightly better, it's still nothing.
Well, it's gone now, so.
Yeah, well, and there's nothing compared. All the World Showcase food, there's, it hasn't closed just yet.
Not yet. It will be later on this winter, they think.
Yeah.
They're going to get to the winter season, and that'll be it.
And then my number 1 worst restaurant at Walt Disney World is Maya Grill at Coronado Springs. It's just, I think it has, it could be a really cool place. Like, I think that the theming could have been there if they really done it up a little bit more. The food is so bad. It's the only reason I think that this restaurant has existed for as long as it has is because it's right next to the convention space, and so they have guaranteed money coming in from conventioners that have no idea what they're stepping into. And because of that, there's no incentive to change because they're probably meeting their numbers with, clueless conventioners that aren't Disney people.
F&B at Coronado Springs in general is food and beverage is pretty bad.
With the exception of Gran Destino being kind of its own thing.
Well, I know I'm including because I've been up to Toledo.
I love Toledo.
I thought it was highly overrated and far too expensive for what they were giving you. I was not impressed at all. I thought it was mediocre at best. I wouldn't put it on my worst list. But this is certainly not a place I'm running back.
I wonder if you had a bad night because we had a totally different experience.
Yeah.
I'll go back and do it again. But
Yeah.
Good.
We were also there the very first night, so they were
true.
probably on their
We could have
absolute
had a better experience than
Yes.
they really are. Maybe that's true.
see,
too.
I think about, when I look at a restaurant like Jose Andres's
Haleo.
Yeah. So,
that everybody, and they open not, they kind of within months of each other, and you've got people. I mean, this is one of the most, Haleo is one of the most talked about restaurants, and people aren't mediocre about this. People are raving about this place. You're not hearing that about Toledo. You're not hearing it. So, but I do have to go back and do it again and actually do a proper review of it. But, all right, so Fiasco, what about you? What's on your list?
So I agree with everything on Steve's list pretty much, except Maya Grill. I do think Maya Grill's okay. But starting...
Wow, you hit your head.
No, I think it's all right. But my number 5, which was like my number 2, I was just talking to Denny about this, but I'm still going to leave it on my list as number 5. It could definitely redeem itself and bump itself off real quick, though, is Restaurantosaurus at Animal Kingdom. Every experience I've had there up until my last one has been absolutely terrible. It's just pure chaos. Everything's a mess. I got my fried shrimp there, the quick service fried shrimp, and it came off with those little black crusties. You know, like when the thing you used to cook your food might not have been cleaned that well. And then also the self-service topping bar, always chaos. Just terrible, terrible, terrible. However, the last time we went there, me and Steve just went there for their burgers and Sundays experience, and that was great. That was totally worth it. I got the vegan burger there, and it was really, really good. The whole area was very, very clean. Again, we did this, I believe, the second day that it was going on.
Right, so
maybe,
who knows if it's still up to that standard.
Right.
And also, this is not you're paying for a little bit more and you have to have a reservation for that. You can't just walk into that.
Yeah. And then, so that could redeem itself, and it could totally be off this list soon. But something that will probably stay in the number 4 spot, and is my number 4 spot, is Tony's in the Magic Kingdom.
Tony's Town Square.
Yeah, Tony's Town Square. The food is just... it's abysmal. It's terrible. And for the price you're paying, I don't think I've ever had worse Italian food in my life. And it's, in the most prime retail spot for optimum disappointment in the Magic Kingdom. So, it's just bad. Don't go to Tony's until you hear lots of people say otherwise, because it's been that way for a while. Also on my list, just like Steve's list, and I feel like it's going to be on a number of lists today, Cosmic Rays. Terrible, terrible, terrible. It's probably the worst quality food in general that you're going to find on property. It serves the most food. I don't remember the exact statistics, so I'm not going to try and quote it, but it serves a lot of food. If you look it up, you're going to see it's one of the most. It produces the most food out of almost any restaurant in the country. It's
in the world.
Yeah, it's
second in the
rated.
world.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just crazy, but it's terrible. Don't go there. My number 2, which is gonna stay on the top 5 list, worst for a while, but it could also redeem itself, and I think it's on the number 2 slot right now because it's such a recent burn, is Ohana. My last experience there was probably one of my worst ever dining in Walt Disney World. And also, I know people...
Was this breakfast or dinner?
This is dinner. The experience was, we were rushed through our meal. The waiter was dropping meat on my table and then running away super frantic. It was extremely stressful. But I also kind of want to go out on a whim here and say there's better food at that price point. The food is it's good, but it's not. It's not amazing. I feel like it's something that I would get at a backyard barbecue, and it is all you can eat. And I'm not somebody who's gonna take an all you can eat buffet or not buffet, but table.
Well, I'm not sure what backyard barbecues you're going to, but invite me to one the next time you go, because I think the food. I've always felt the food at Ohana for dinner. Not for breakfast, but for dinner, has been very good. Mm-hmm. My big problem is the service and being rushed through the meals.
Yeah. So I've had experiences at Ohana that I was this food is so good, I can't wait to come back. But it's bound to be ridiculously inconsistent. And it's if they can keep it consistent, that's awesome. But they're just making all these shish kebabs of steak and chicken and shrimp, and recently it's all come out different temperatures. Sometimes the steak is rare, and sometimes it's well done, and then sometimes the chicken is tough. and rubbery. And then sometimes there's no consistency, and they're trying to push out so many skewers, but like I'm just like, what am I gonna get? Like, oh, I don't know. Is it gonna be disgusting today? So I'm not gonna go back to Ohana until I hear an overwhelming majority say, it's gotten better. But my number one worst is Ale and Compass. Again, the epitome of disappointment. It's in a beautiful resort. It's a beautiful restaurant, and the service there, I need to say the service was great, but the food is some of the worst food I've ever eaten.
I don't get why they can't get their act together with that location.
Yeah.
It was the same thing before it became Ale and Compass, when it was Captain's Grill.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing was, there was a time that I called that restaurant a hidden gem because the food was great. And nobody knew about it. Nobody went there. And you could walk in at any point and always get a table. And then I will never forget being there with a group of friends. And my one friend got like a seafood stew or a seafood. It was like not a stew. It was a seafood bowl. So it was mussels and clams and shrimp and things like that. And he's like, this really isn't bad. This really isn't bad. Until he gets to the bottom of the bowl, and there's a massive hair in it, which they then turned around and said was ours, even though all of us had short hair. And they blamed it on us.
Wow.
And that was when the wheels came off the wagon for me. And then I was back there New Year's Day. Sean and I were there New Year's Day, and it was just awful. It was just god-awful, the food. Again, service was wonderful.
Yeah.
The food was terrible. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, a beautiful location, too.
Yeah.
But it's just the food is just, it's terrible. It's awful.
All right, Denny, what about you? What's on your list?
All right, so on my list, so I'll start from the bottom and go to the worst. So the San Angel Inn in the Mexico Pavilion.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't get it. I don't get why we can't get it together in that regard, because I think immediately of Blue Bayou and Disneyland and just how lovely it is to sit by that water and watch the boats come by.
Blue Bayou can be pretty bad too.
I know. Well, and we enjoyed it when we were there, but it was neat. And then you go to the Mexico Pavilion here in Epcot, and it just kind of goes, oh, sad. It's prime real estate. So let's make sure that what goes in there is perfect, is something that people want to come back to. And it's just not been fantastic.
And you know what? If Nine Dragons can turn it around.
I love Nine Dragons.
Now, yes.
Love it, yes.
But for how many years was that the worst rated restaurant in
Right.
Epcot and one of the worst at Walt Disney World? If you can turn around Nine Dragons and make Nine Dragons good.
You can do this.
You can do it at San Angelo Inn. You can do
happen. So number 4 is Restaurantosaurus, for all the reasons that have already been said. I went in there recently at lunchtime, and it was an absolute zoo. And you could not
How
find.
ironic.
I mean, it was.
No
it was
pun intended,
Not a
yeah.
zoo. Yes, it is a zoo. It was crazy, and I couldn't find a table. And like you said, Corey, the toppings bar looked like a war had been waged on it. It was so bad, and I just kind of left in disgust. And the food is lackluster. It's nothing to write home about. So that's disappointing. Next on my list is the Via Napoli pizza window. So I know you love it, Steve. I'm sorry, but the last time I was there, and I've tried it several times, it was like I was given a loaf of bread, and there is some sauce and there is some cheese, but it just wasn't it wasn't worth waiting for. And I had to wait for it. And I thought, my goodness, Via Napoli is right there. And I know they can do pizza. So it was disappointing for me. I know that you've had a good experience there. Waited for a little bit. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't.
Yeah, they should just have pies ready to go.
And they were, and it was there, but I was also there with other people. So everybody had the same, we all got in line together. So yes, we were given a slice of pizza, and the pizza wasn't hot.
Oh.
It wasn't good, and it was mostly bread. And I can do that myself at home.
Yeah,
So
I haven't had
know,
that. I've
disappointed.
every time I've been there, it's been hot.
I
You must have
know.
had a weird.
It was weird.
Timing or.
And it's not my first time there. Like
Oh,
I've gone, but I won't.
Maybe
I
I've
don't,
just been lucky. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll keep on walking next time, unfortunately. Next one is the Sunset Ranch Market in Hollywood Studios. And I love Disney's Hollywood Studios so much, but they can't get it together outside of Galaxy's Edge with counter service. They really suffer with counter service food over there. So Rosie's All American and Catalina Eddie's, and so many families. It's packed there.
Yeah.
Whenever you walk by at lunchtime, it's just slammed because I think people are under the assumption that this is all I've got. Like
Yeah.
these are my choices. So I have to, I got to get something at Fairfax Fair and sit down and eat my sad food. But there are other options.
Right.
And not that. So next on my list and last on my list is Cosmic Rays. And just not my favorite. We went in on the Halloween party night that we were there, and we had the Lotso burger because they were trying to do something fun for the Halloween party, and it just wasn't good. It just wasn't good, and it's consistently not good food. And I love Sunny Eclipse with all my heart. I could stand there and watch him until he's blue in the face. But the food, I agree, level the place and take him out, bring him back,
I don't
and
even
try
think
again.
you need to level it. I think you just need to get somebody in there
Yeah.
that gives a crap about the food. You know what? You've got some really, really, really talented chefs working at Walt Disney World.
Absolutely.
You have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to do something there. You're talking about the second busiest restaurant in the world, okay? You have an opportunity to do something and make that second busiest restaurant in the world more than a punchline, because that's what you have reduced it to.
Especially when you consider Galactic Grill in Tomorrowland
Yes.
and Disneyland being, not that that's the best place in the
No,
world,
but they've got the
but
pasta.
it's
and,
much
oh
better.
yeah,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
so many
Yeah,
options
absolutely.
there. So that's
So everybody
Totally
seems to
it.
agree on Cosmic Rays. Now, Cosmic Rays did not make my list, not because I think Cosmic Rays is good, just because I think there are places that are worse.
Ooh.
I will start at number 5 on my list, and that is the Sci-Fi Dine-In Theater.
Shots fired at Fiasco.
dear.
I think the food there has been so consistently terrible. It does make the list for great places for a show, for a dinner show, but it makes the list also as one of the worst places to eat because, again, this food could be so much more. Fiasco claims that the Turkey Club is
Life-changing.
apparently created by Christ himself, so okay. But apparently none of the rest of the food was addressed.
The fried pickles, though.
Okay, well, you and your pickles. Go ahead. Number 4 on my list, again, this is an old standby, San Angelin at Mexico in Epcot. Again, could be amazing, but never is.
Can I just ask one quick thing? Because you guys are talking about the atmosphere. The chairs in there look so, yes, it's beautiful because you're right on the water, but every time I look in there when I'm going on to Grand Fiesta Tour, the chairs look like they're about 6 inches apart.
They are trying to pack as many people into that space as they can.
Yeah.
It is definitely difficult to navigate when you're eating there. If you have to get up and go to the bathroom or walk out for any reason, it's definitely difficult to navigate because they've just got so much packed into that space. Plus, it's dark. So, what could possibly go wrong? Number 3 on my list, any Rainforest Cafe location anywhere.
Does that include T-Rex, too?
That will include, I will say all Landry's restaurants.
Oh dear.
I've never
dear.
eaten in a Landry's restaurant that I liked. That includes Yak and Yeti.
Oh, I love it.
That includes T-Rex, Rainforest Cafe. I think Landry's does a terrible, terrible, terrible job of cooking food. They do great theming things. Unfortunately, none of that creativity has ever found its way onto any of their menus. So Rainforest Cafe, but specifically the one at Disney Springs, I think is just awful. And I think you can do so much better for the price you'll pay for that food. I get it. You know, there's jungles and there's stuff yelling at you and, you know, making noises and whatever. Spend the money somewhere else. Number 2 on my list is a place I don't think a lot of people, and I debated actually putting this as number 1 on my list, but it's a place not a lot of people have eaten. I've tried it a few times because I would go back just to make sure it really was as bad as I thought it was. And this is the Garden Grill at the Swan. If you really don't like somebody, suggest they eat there. It's just awful. It's god-awful. I mean, god-awful food. And it didn't matter whether it was breakfast or dinner. I've done both. And once recently. And I'm like, wow, this really is as bad as... Because sometimes, like, you think someplace is really so bad that you start saying to yourself, you know, maybe I've just blown it out of proportion.
Yeah, you get it in your
head.
I didn't.
I didn't. Absolutely god-awful.
I've never been to that place.
But
Yeah, I mean,
well,
I
a
don't
lot
plan-
of people
I don't plan on going.
A lot of people forget about it or don't realize it's there because it's kind of tucked in the back of the Swan.
Yeah.
And it's Garden Grove, not Garden Grill, sorry. Garden Grove at the Swan. But the number one worst place to eat at Walt Disney World, I'm surprised nobody has this on their list. Boat Rights over at Port Orleans Riverside. Now, you talk about a restaurant that could be, but just isn't. And I have no earthly idea why they can't. This is what I don't understand. You have, as I said before, you have some of the most talented, world-class chefs and culinary experts working at Walt Disney World. And these people, some of these people have figured out how to create amazing food that is mass-produced. Okay? If... we talk about cosmic rays. This can be fixed. They just don't.
I gotta be honest, this probably should have been on my list. I just totally blanked on it. And I know if you watched an episode or 2 ago about entertainment, we talked about Tiana's place. Talk about a place that you could re-theme.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
They might have to do some refurbs to the inside because of the theming, but being a New Orleans themed resort.
Well, that would be that's more a French Quarter. They could do a Tiana's place at French Quarter than they could at Riverside. But your point's well taken. I absolutely think they should take the concepts of some of the restaurants on Disney Cruise Line and bring them on land.
Absolutely.
But I will have to say that, in my opinion, Boat Rights is still the worst restaurant at Walt Disney World. So there you have it. That's all of our top 5 lists of the worst places to eat at Walt Disney World. And that will do it for this episode of the Disney Dining Show. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you again next week. Have a great week, folks.